the gym. My old stomping grounds. Hank Patterson, fly fishing guide.
Riley Smith, tight end.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Hey, you wouldn't happen to be the kicker?
No, tight end.
Again, thank you. I'm looking for a kicker for Lithia Ford's fall kickoff sale. But you're not the kicker.
No.
Yeah, the kicker's probably taller and in a lot better shape. So, okay. What position do you play?
Tight end. Squats.
Yeah, try it sometime.
I may be retired, but I still have finances to manage. With direct deposit and automatic payments, ICCU makes it easy to spend less time banking and more time baking.
RowPaint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics, is going all in this season with an all-star lineup. First up, he led the Broncos to 3 conference championships and 10 20-win seasons. It's Coach Leon Rice. Next, he's the founder and CEO of RowPaint.com. He played a little basketball in high school on the driveway with his mom. It's Andy Rowe.
Oh, no. Want to just paint my house?
Now that I can do.
When I want Boise State to win, I trust Coach Rice to lead the Broncos to victory.
And when I want the best painting and garage floor coating, I trust RowPaint.com to get that job done right.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Today's broadcast is coming from the Cutwater Spirits Canned Cocktail Studios. Check out one of their more than 30 flavors of pre-mixed premium cocktails at your local gas station or grocery store. Cutwater Canned Cocktails is perfect for your next game day tailgate party. Now, here's 4-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Hey, how we doing, Boise State fans? Welcome on into Bronco Nation News Live here, BroncoNationNews.com. We got Mike Prater, KTIK 95.3, The Ticket. You listen to him. Prater in the ball game weekdays from 3 to 6 here for his weekly appearance. We got Mike Prater's column to talk about. We got football. We got basketball. We got a lot going on. But I guess most importantly, how you feeling, Mike?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, BJ?
I'm doing good. Doing good. You're in the Palacious Prater office there.
Yeah, I'm stuck here. I'm quarantined, but I'm feeling fine. Playing the corporate police game right now and staying at home for a couple more days, but all is well and ready to dive into today's show, my friend.
Crazy to think that, before COVID even started, like it was pretty much unheard of for what we're doing right now to be in 2 separate places doing a broadcast like this and for you to do a show. And I've literally hosted Idaho Sports Talk from my house. I mean, it is crazy to think about what technology has allowed us to do the last couple of years and platforms that we use like this to do our shows. So not thankful for COVID, obviously, but some small positives that came out of it were finding out about technology like this. It has certainly helped Bronco Nation News and the business that I'm doing. And it's pretty crazy how it's working out. But appreciate you for jumping on, Mike. I know you were watching the basketball game the other night. We'll get to that. But we got the Eric McAlister transfer news and what comes of that moving forward. NIL, I know, has been a big topic of late. I know that was a good chunk of the reason. I want to throw this out there again. Andy Avalos used that as the large reason why Eric McAlister transferred. I do think there are some other issues beyond that. But if someone's offering you, 6 figures in a car to go play in Texas, in the state, your home state, in the Big 12 at TCU or somewhere like that, you're going to obviously take that most times. So we read the column. Folks that haven't had a chance to read it, BroncoNationNews.com. I will say, Mike, that I think you wrote this before. We talked to both Matt Miller yesterday and Kane Ione, and they both went at talking at length about NIL and Boise State and how schools like this can compete and keep up and not have this keep happening. If you want to hear some great stuff from Kane Ione and Matt Miller, we've got the videos up on the BNN YouTube channel. But Mike, again, folks can subscribe, go read the column. But for those that haven't, what's just your take on what happened with Eric McAlister and NIL's role and how Boise State tries to keep this from happening again? Because it would seem like they're in a pretty tough place moving forward here.
Well, first of all, great job by you and Bronco Nation News for breaking that story and getting that out there. It's a very important story, and you've been all over it, and it's been awesome to watch you and that story develop and grow. And we all knew, guys, that this was going to happen. Boise State's been pretty lucky when it comes to the transfer portal. Haven't had any major hits yet, but we all knew that it was coming. And you wake up on Monday morning and saw your report, and it was a gut punch, BJ. It really, really hurt because it was the first one. And I think it's going to be the first of many. And that's even if Boise State can somehow get back on track with this NIL game. And yeah, the column this morning focused on, or last night that was posted at BNN, is focused on certainly name, image, and likeness. And Boise State at this crazy, crazy era of college football. Whoever thought that NIL transfer portal would be way more important than conference championships, touchdowns, and first downs. And we're certainly at that point of college football. It's not good. All the fans are upset. Everybody's tired of it already, but it ain't going away, guys. It's not going away. It's the world that we live in right now. And if Eric McAlister wants to take his 6 figures in his car and go somewhere back to Texas, that's fine. And we're hearing reports that Ashton Jeanty might be getting up to $1 million offers. I had somebody at Boise State yesterday say they had heard $900,000. And I think I heard you talk about it the other day about $1 million potential offer for Jeanty. Guys, this isn't going away, and Boise State has to figure it out. I don't think Boise State's losing the NIL game, and so much has been made about Mike Walsh and what they've done at that department down there. That's just laying the groundwork, laying the infrastructure. Now it's time to go out and raise some serious cash, and I'm not sure how – well, it's going to be a very difficult chore in this market, especially with the college football environment that it is here in Boise right now. Andy Avalos isn't exactly the guy that should be knocking on doors asking people for cash right now.
And that is certainly an element of this, the team lack of success right now playing into all this. But I think, Mike, when this couple years ago was announced, this was the fear every Boise State fan had. And it just took a couple years to get to this point. But Boise State has always been known on kind of finding those diamond in the rough, the under-recruited guys, turning them into, potential all-conference, even NFL-type players. And now a lot of that is gone. I mean, Boise State is literally has could be a feeder school. They're going to develop these guys, find them, get them for a year or two. I mean, if you're the Georgias, the Texases of the world, you don't need to worry about high school recruiting as much anymore. You just start looking at freshmen and sophomores on other rosters and go pick them off and see how much cash you can offer them. And so I think this, Mike, was a fear of Boise State fans from the day this came. And now we're seeing it. And again, I'm not reporting anything on Ashton Jeanty, concrete, but certainly rumors, whatever. I mean, if Eric McAlister is getting what we think is 6 figures to go to, somewhere like TCU, one can only imagine what someone like Ashton Jeanty is probably getting offered by Georgia or Florida or pretty much any school in the country at this point. So, Boise State just can't compete with some of that. I mean, they've got good boosters. They've got whatever they need to do more, but there's only so much Boise State can do moving forward here. So, how do you see Boise State competing in this? Because if it's going to be every time you get a quality player like this, it's just going to be, you can only preach culture and things like that so much. And when you're winning, certainly that does help. But I don't see any way that this Boise State can. I mean, this is a serious issue, Mike. When you're going to have Jeanty and what about an Andrew Simpson or whoever else? I mean, they've really to this point avoided having to worry about this, in the past, and now it's just becoming the norm here for people to pick people off other schools. And let's not forget the transfer portal is not supposed to open until December 4th. Any contact with Eric McAlister is technically against NCAA rules right now. Now there's trainers and things around that, and if you were to go in the portal, we would have interest, that kind of stuff. And we'll see if anybody else, does it early or just waits till December 4th and there's a flood of guys or what happens. But big picture here, is there really anything you see that long-term Boise State can do to try to compete with schools doing this?
No, I really don't think that there's anything that they can do. They just have to keep doing what they're doing. And frankly, it's like that roller coaster ride where you're scared as hell and you think you're going to fly off to the side. You just have to hold on and do the best you can. Think about the college football world that we live in right now, BJ. Ashton Genty, compared to NFL running backs, may be more valuable. I mean, we've heard the story about the value of running backs in the NFL begging for $1 million contracts. And guys like Dalvin Cook barely getting $1 million contracts. And if Ashton Genty's $1 million running back in college football, there's no way you can compete with that at this level. You just have to hope and hold on and pray. And the Eric McAlister thing really, really hurt more so because it happened in the middle of the season. If the season's over, and I think we expect more of these to happen after the season, after that Air Force game and leading up to December 4th, to do it with 3 games left. And you mentioned, you opened up the show by talking about there might be more stuff behind the scenes. And I'm not privy to what you know behind the scenes, but something had to be really, really off for him to leave now. Because, I'm assuming he still has to go to school. He can't talk to anybody, technically, legally. So he's just kind of in limbo for a month, taking some classes, doing nothing. He wanted nothing to do with this football team, and that's scary to me. The transfer portal and the NIL stuff is scary enough. But now that he's doing this in the middle of the season, when he was one of the most used wide receivers in all of college football, we were taught to learn that if you're going to go into the transfer portal, it's because you're looking for playing time. Eric McAlister had no issues with playing time and had plenty of other issues that are going to catch Boise State off guard and will continue to catch Boise State off guard in the future.
And I have a couple stats on that we'll get to, because in a minute I want to move this forward to what it means for guys like Prince Strawn and Austin Bolt. And I do have a story I'll be posting here shortly at BroncoNationNews.com about Prince Strawn and Austin Bolt. I talked to both those guys. I talked to Matt Miller, and so kind of looking at the opportunity for those two guys, which is kind of what fans have been waiting for. Fans have been waiting for Austin Bolt and Prince Strawn for a long time, and as a result of not the way they wanted it, Eric McAlister leaving, they now get their chance to see Austin Bolt and Prince Strawn here, and we'll get to that in a minute. But you look big picture here, what can happen moving forward. And again, it's technically illegal, it's technically tampering. I just don't know how Boise State, they will never be able to offer someone $1 million. So they're in a really tough spot, and whether it's NCAA rules saying, whether someone mentioned in the comments, Mike, some sort of contract with the school. I don't know where this goes in terms of your commitment to the school, but it's really now 1-year deals. You're getting guys, as a freshman, and and then you have to play them or they're going to leave. Well, if you play them, then they might leave anyway, because then their school sees them. And the whole thing is just a new wave here of where we're going with this. And I think I've seen some people, Mike, say maybe one way to do this is to go back to the 1 year of having to sit out of eligibility. I don't know if that matters, because you could probably still get the money. Maybe some schools would still say, yeah, you got to sit out next year at Georgia, but we'll still give you $500K while you're sitting out. Maybe that's still enough. I don't know. But there's got to be some way to try to, it's just gotten too crazy. Part of the problem, I think, was that it happened at the exact same time that they did change to the, one-time transfer rule where you didn't have to sit out. The combination of those two things together, I think, made this even worse. Joe Nichols doing a great job with the collective. Some of the local businesses, Bronco Brew Coffee right here is a sponsor of Bronco Nation News, and they literally say on the front of their bag of coffee right here, supporting Boise State University athletics with every sip. And they're an official partner, but it's literally an NIL on here. It talks about as a opportunity for name, image, and likeness. It generates substantial revenue exclusively for the academic and athletic pursuits of Boise State student athletes. You can literally go to the BroncoBrew.coffee website, and yes, this is a plug for them, but it's also the truth. And you can click Markel Reed when you buy your coffee, and Markel Reed gets like $3 of your money from this bag of coffee for literally doing nothing except having his photo up there on the website. There's a lot of Olympic sport athletes on there. I think Kobe Young is on there. Markel Reed, I believe, is the only football player, because they kind of launched this right when the season started, and they didn't want to bother the players during the season. They're going to make this a bigger priority in the offseason. But this is one innovative way here where they're paying Boise State to use the logo. They're an official partner, and then they're donating money back in the NIL. And their goal, Mike Prater, is to get they need 700 people. If 700 people make the switch to Bronco Brew Coffee, that gives them $100,000 over the course of a year when you add up the money that goes into this fund they're starting called the QB1 fund. And their goal is to be able to hand $100,000 to theoretically the quarterback or the star player at Boise State. So it's an innovative kind of new thing. If you're a fan, these are the kind of companies that you probably need to start supporting, but it's going to take a lot more like this. This is one of the first, I think, in Boise that is directly on the packaging talking about NIL and giving money to the schools. And we had the gentleman on that runs this, Scott Anthony, during the bye week. It's a great, he's a very forward thinker, and I think it's a great idea. 700 people is the math that would give them $100,000 a year to give to a quarterback. But they need a lot more companies like this to step up. But even with that, Mike, I just don't know in the end if they're going to be able to keep up unless the rules change.
And the rules aren't going to change. As a matter of fact, the rules were designed for exactly what's happening right now. Don't forget the power brokers, the powers to be are the big four, the big five, whatever there is in terms of power conferences. They're the ones that designed this. This is what they want. They want separation. And eventually it's going to be 30, 40, 50 schools, and they're going to be on their own entity, and everybody else is going to kind of be fighting. I swear to God, in 5 years, college football will continue to look crazy because those are the rules. And you keep saying, what can be done about this in terms of the rules? Nothing, because the powers to be want this to be the rule, and they're not going to change it. So but the Boise States are going to have to learn how to adapt and change. I wish there was maybe one. You're never going to be able to restrict student athletes' rights. That toothpaste is out of the bottle, and you can't put it back in. And I like the fact that student athletes have rights. But in this particular case, maybe you have you can't transfer from G5 to Power 5. You have to do a little bit of a protection. And I don't see that rule ever kind of happening. But there has to be some kind of protection. And in the meantime, the Boise States of the world just have to keep doing what they're doing. I would imagine, as bad as Boise State football is right now, perspective-wise, compared to typical Boise State football season, they're still probably one of the group of 5 leaders in this entire country when it comes to name, image, and likeness. And name, image, and likeness in this market is young. Go back to the conversation we had with Tommy Alquist at Topgolf. And he talked about the legislature. He talked about population. He talked about Boise being a mini Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City has 2.5 million people within that proper area with thriving businesses. And I've always said that Boise State's like a Salt Lake City, but 20 years behind. They just have to keep growing and doing what they're doing. I think Boise State's doing a good job. They might even be doing a great job, but it's just all based on growth and numbers and population and businesses and people and all that kind of stuff. And the timing of the football team struggling right now, that part really sucks.
Yeah, it does. So, and I think that unless something changes, this is going to be certainly, I don't know if crossroads is the right word, Mike, but I think the fact that this was all, I think people knew this was an issue, it was going on, but I think Eric McAlister bringing it to the forefront with 3 games left in the season, Andy Avalos. And again, I think some of this was deflecting maybe some of the other reasons, whether it's, maybe some uneasiness in the locker room with how things are going. There's other things behind the scenes going on, I'm sure. And I'm sure part of it was Andy Avalos, using this as kind of a convenient excuse, so to speak, of what happened. But obviously he was not afraid to talk about what's going on behind the scenes, some illegal tampering, and the fact that this has now come to the forefront, and the fact that, let's be honest, there's a pretty good chance that this happens again with a player on this roster in the next couple of weeks or month, at least one, maybe more. I think that now, fans, now the school, now the team, like I said, first couple of years, it hadn't happened yet. And they were preaching culture and preaching all this. And now, Skinner didn't do it. Shakir, there were a lot of guys that maybe had opportunities and didn't. Now, all of a sudden it happens. And I think it's kind of a rallying moment here for Boise State to see if there's something they can try to do. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see the next couple of months and, into the next year to see what happens here. Because let's be honest, Mike, Jeremiah Dickey's in a tough spot, which we talked about when NIL started. They're trying to raise $30, $40, $50 million just for that North End Zone project. They just launched a capital campaign for $150 million. They're trying to get for the facilities, for all the different things. But yet they also need money for the NIL side of it, which is not part of that money to keep the athletes happy that are here. So Joe Nichols out there asking for the same dollars that Jeremiah Dickey's asking for 2 different things. And that just creates all kinds of potential. I don't know if issues is the right word, but when these businesses have so much money, and if you're I don't know, row painting, and you got to decide, do I give $50,000 to the collective to go to that quarterback, or do I give $50,000 to Boise State? And obviously row painting is giving much more money than that, and they're a big sponsor of BSU and a supporter of ours. But I do think it's very how the NIL and Boise State work together, but it's not the same dollars. I think that's a very interesting part of all this.
Yeah, and that was a big part of my column that is now at Bronco Nation News in terms of splitting the pot. And not only they have to not only split it two different ways in terms of what Jeremiah Dickey wants for his projects and what NIL needs. They're kind of splitting it three ways because Jeremiah Dickey, he's talked about the last 2 or 3 years just raising money for infrastructure, to change light bulbs, to take care of stuff underneath the non-sexy stuff. So he's raising money for infrastructure. He's raising money for this North End project. And oh, by the way, he can't really technically raise money for NIL, but that's what the Joe Nichols and the Mike Walshes and the athletics department are out there trying to do right now. So it's everybody. And it goes back to the pot is not that big in this market. The pot in this market is very, very small. The businesses, the $1 million businesses, the corporations, they're just not existing in Boise, Idaho right now. There's Microns of the world, and they're going to continue to grow, and business is growing, especially in West Boise and out there in toward Ada County. It's going to continue to grow, and if Boise State can just weather this storm, I think that they might be okay. Eventually, I think there's going to be a break-off where the big dogs are going to be playing for one championship, and then the group of five is going to be playing for one championship, and then FCS might even be the third level of college football. That might help a little bit, but I'm not sure that that's going to stop the flow of players from the middle of the pool to the big pool.
Josh DeWitt says, I think you mean 7,000. No, it is 700. We had the gentleman on to talk about it. I can get the math if you want, but it is 700. That's all it takes because you're giving like $3 or $4 per bag, and that's a week. You had that over 52 weeks for the course of a year. I think it came out to $98,000. So pretty innovative idea, huh, to try to raise some money for NIL through that. I mean, I think it's actually kind of cool, and I hope it works out for them, and we're thankful they want to sponsor, BNN, and they're a sponsor of BSU, but no, it is 700 people is how the math works out. If you make your, just as he says it, redirect your coffee expense to Bronco Brew Coffee, and you're giving money to Boise State in the process. So we'll see if some other companies, I know they have the beer down there, right, with the collective at Western Proper. And, so I think that there are folks trying to do this, and we'll see where they can go here moving forward. But there are some on-the-field football topics I want to discuss. Also, Mike, want to talk a little basketball as well. We know you're the biggest Leon Rice, Boise State basketball town fan in the Valley here. So we'll do that in 90 seconds. Don't go anywhere. We got great viewership. We appreciate you. More football talk. Does Ashton Genty take another snap this season? We're going to ask Mike Prater in 90 seconds. Don't go anywhere. All Bronco Nation News broadcasts come from the Cutwater Spirits Canned Cocktail Studios. Check out one of their more than 30 flavors of pre-mix premium cocktails at your local gas station or grocery store. Cutwater Spirits, perfect for your next game day tailgate party. Our title sponsor is rowpaint.com. For all your commercial, industrial, residential painting needs, check out rowpaint.com. Don't forget about their concrete coatings. Transform that ugly concrete slab on your back patio in your garage in just one day. Contact rowpaint.com for a free estimate today. The official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics, and our title sponsor at Bronco Nation News is rowpaint.com. Idaho Central Credit Union's been helping members achieve financial success for more than 80 years. There's an ICCU branch on almost every corner, but the closest is in your pocket with free eBranch mobile and online banking. CUI more than 500,000 members love ICCU, and join 1 in 4 Idahoans by making the switch today at ICCU.com. Since 1984, Ridley's Family Markets has prided itself on being a hometown food and drug store that employed value members of the local community. Ridley's Family Markets has 13 locations in the state of Idaho and many more in the surrounding states. Download the new Ridley's app to your smartphone, get savings up to 40% off at the checkout line, and find a location near you at shopridleys.com. Former Bronco Matt Bauscher is once again the number 1 ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley. No home is too big or too small for Matt and his team. Let them fulfill all your real estate needs at BauscherRealEstate.com. Got to give a big shout out, Mike Prater. Today is a momentous occasion, big day here, 10-year anniversary for my wife and I. So big shout out to the love of my life, Karen Rains, and it went by very quickly, and couldn't be happier, and just I'm a very lucky man, as everybody knows, and so appreciate my wife Karen, and we got 2 healthy boys and a great wife, great family. I'm loving life right now, Mike Prater. So gonna try to sneak out for dinner tonight, thanks to the mother-in-law, gonna watch the boys. So looking forward to that later today. But I did want to give a quick shout out. Don't need everybody in the comments to all say congratulations, but I appreciate it. But just did want to give publicly a shout out to my wife.
I just made 1 year in my marriage, so I thought that was pretty damn good. 10 years is pretty good. That'd be a Prater personal record. So she's you're very lucky, by the way. She's the rock star of the family. We all know your family. You got a beautiful family, and I will say congratulations to you and your family. That's a pretty cool deal, BJ.
Yeah, she does it when I'm on the road traveling, and she does a lot of having to watch the kids, and I'm gone a lot, and she helps a lot with the business side, actually, with billing a lot of our advertisers and a lot of response to a lot of folks' emails. So she behind the scenes does a lot of help with the company, and she's she's actually the real boss. I thought I was becoming my own boss when I started this thing, but she's a great boss to work for, and it's been a lot of fun. And so I just wanted to make sure I gave her a shout out for our 10-year anniversary. But okay, so Mike Prater, Ashton Jeanty, I asked 2-part question. Will he play another snap this season? And given the Eric McAlister news and everything else going on, should he play another snap this season?
Total guesses here, total guesses. And I don't think he'll play this weekend because of the injury thing. And I'm not sure I haven't been at practice this week, so I'm not sure if he's even been at practice or if we can even say if he is at practice right now. So that's certainly something we're going to be looking at very closely in warmups on Saturday night about 6:30, 7 o'clock. If I had to answer yes or no, I'm going to say no. I don't know if we'll ever see Ashton Jeanty play football at Boise State ever again. Maybe this weekend because of the injury, and then the Utah State and Air Force games, maybe he shuts it down. I hope he doesn't get to that point, guys. I really hope that all of a sudden these players just aren't flat out. It's one thing to transfer and better yourself, but when I see what Eric McAlister did in the middle of the season, or potentially what an Ashton Jeanty could do in the middle of a season, that's just kind of giving up on your family. And I know that sounds harsh, but the timing is important here, if you ask me. It's really, really, really important, and it's part of your character. It really, truly is. Unless something is really gross behind the scenes, or you and your family, or something personal with you there's a big injustice and you have to just get out of that toxic environment, I get it, but I don't know if that's the case here. You have more information, but yeah, I don't think Ashton Jeanty plays again for Boise State. I don't think he plays again next year, and I think Ashton Jeanty would be long gone, and unfortunately, we're probably going to hear a couple more. I think Taylor Green will probably be gone. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Now, if you told us that before the year, it would have been shockingly devastating. Now it might be a good thing to kind of clear up some of this mess and move forward with CJ Tiller and Maddox Madsen. So maybe the big three. I don't think we'll see them ever again at Boise State together, BJ.
Yeah, and Ashton Jeanty at least has the I don't want to say excuse, but the injury factor, where if he just says he's not healthy enough to play the rest of the season, it doesn't look as bad maybe as Eric McAlister with 3 games left saying peace. So, I mean, he has that kind of built-in reason that Ashton Jeanty could use if he wants. And let's be honest, if they're, you're 4-5 right now, and you got $800,000, $900,000, $1 million offer from Georgia on the table. I mean, who would blame somebody like that for saying, I don't want to tear my ACL here at the end of the season and ruin something like that for next year. So I think, and with Green, I mean, if Green would have been the one on Monday that I reported was transferring, I don't think one Boise State fan at all would have blamed him. I mean, whether you like Green or not, the way, you use the word disrespectful in your column, and I've been saying that for a couple of weeks now. Whether you're on Green's side, whether you're on Madsen's side, it's gotten to the point where both guys are being treated unfairly. I believe in all this. For a while, it was the practice reps. There's some confusion there. We don't exactly know what's going on with that. But to literally, I think the worst part is that it was scripted going into last week, Mike. And I mean, the fact that you scripted and planned all week for those first 10 plays, and in your mind, you wanted to play Taylor Green for one play and then take him out. And I just didn't like how that, and how that went. I said it on Twitter at the time, and I don't know how you took it. You weren't there, I know, because with COVID, but you listened and watched, obviously, to the press conference. Wished you would have been there, by the way. There were a couple. I know you would have asked some good questions, and I was wishing you were there for that. But I thought, Andy Avalos said, did not, he said we haven't made a decision to change anything, but if that, we're still in the early game plan stage, but he kind of left it open. I thought a little more than he had, that there could be a change. And I thought Bush Hamden, I asked the question, basically about the first play and what was that about. And I thought Bush basically admitted that maybe he kind of could have handled that better. I mean, he kind of said that he sees it, and that they did want to run that inside draw or whatever. But I mean, is that really the only play you have for the first play of the game? Like, I get it, but if the plan was for the rest of that drive, which it ended up being a 3-and-out, so we don't know beyond those 2 plays what the plan was, but it would have just been easier to just start Madsen. But then that would have become a whole thing. They've switched starters and all. I don't know. I felt like Bush kind of in his answer admitted he could have handled it differently, or maybe they should have just approached it differently. But I mean, I guess I got to ask you. I asked you about Genty. I guess I got to ask you about Madsen and Green. I mean, who takes the first snap on Saturday?
There was certainly a shift and change in terms of the way they approached it on Monday. Avalos, they gave different answers than they've been giving the same exact answer for a month. So there was a little bit of a shift, although the definite answer certainly wasn't different, but just a shift in attitude. And I think that they're finally figuring this out. And you're right. You can look at the body language of Bush Hamdan. And it's like, I'm not trying to avoid your question, and he was kind of sensitive and dancing it around it. And that whole scripted one play thing, you're 1,000% right. And to your credit, you've been right about this thing for about a month. Some of us are a little bit slow coming to it, but it just got to the point where it's been so disrespectful. And if I'm Taylor Green, I'm almost like, F you. I'm not going in for one play just to be your dog and pony guy and then sitting on the bench. That makes me look terrible. That makes me look embarrassing. And I'm not going to put myself and my family and my reputation into that situation. So Taylor Green, to his credit, went out there and was a good soldier and did what he had to do and has put a bright, shiny face on. But I almost think that Maddox Madsen's going to start. I'm not even sure, we'll see Taylor Green, I think. Maddox Madsen, if he starts, I can't see him playing the whole game. Is Taylor Green the change-up quarterback that Brian Harsin talked about on BNN with you and Jay a few weeks ago in terms of I need one starter and I need one change-up guy? Well, Maddox Madsen's definitely your starter. He should be because that's what he's doing. And then maybe here comes Taylor Green as your change-up guy. I wouldn't be surprised if we never saw Taylor Green again and Ashton Genty. And those are both extreme cases, but it wouldn't surprise me at all.
No, and the Green one I think could partially be Boise State's doing because if they obviously don't think he does a ton because he's not playing very much to help them win. And if you pretty much know that he's probably not going to be here next year, why would you play him in the last 3 games? And I've been saying for a while, I thought CJ Tiller should get some time. Bush kind of laughed off my thing there, and I get it. They're still fighting for a bowl game, but if you're up big against New Mexico, why not let CJ Tiller? I mean, he can play 4 games in redshirt. Like, it didn't sound like the way Bush said it that'll happen, but in my opinion, Bush. We're at the time now where CJ Tiller could play and still count this as the redshirt year. So why not, if he has a real chance to be in the mix next year, see what he has out there in a game and play him some. And it doesn't sound like that's going to happen, but I don't know if it's necessarily Green saying I'm not, don't play me, or if it's the coaches, but at some point, like I said, I've made it clear. I thought Green is the bigger one that got screwed in all this. I don't think earlier in the season, I don't know if fair shot's the right word, but I feel like if they had stuck with him longer, some things may have changed. But I have said the last couple of weeks, Mike, like even if it's Madsen, it's got just pick one or the other. And when you do the first play thing, that's kind of where I just kind of threw my hands up in the press box it's just gotten to this point where and they can say all they want about the streak of 30 points in a row and all that. And I get it. The numbers are up and they're going to be Andy's been a little defensive about some of that. Like it's working where, the numbers are up, the passing numbers are up. We passed for more yards in Fresno. We rushed for more yards in Fresno. Like I get it, but you're 4-5. So I just, I don't know. I agree with you. Wouldn't shock me at all if we don't see Taylor Green. The only way you see Taylor Green is if something would have changed, or not, I shouldn't say this. The only way Taylor Green starts, in my opinion, is if you watched that game and you thought, you know what, like maybe Madsen isn't ready. I mean, he almost had 3 picks. There was almost a pick 6. There was a couple other balls that guys just dropped that were right to him. Again, this always turns into, I'm ripping on Maddox Madsen when I say things about Green, but which is not the case. I think Matt, like I said, he played in our BNN golf tournament. By all accounts, is a great team player, great guy, likable guy, and has some talent and does do some things that Taylor Green can't. But the way they talk about him and some of these stats, Mike, as if it's Peyton Manning out there, and some of his passes have just have been off, and he's gotten lucky that there haven't been some more picks. Curious to see what happens. I mean, they're 26-point favorites, so this really shouldn't be much of a game on Saturday, but who knows with the distractions with McAlister and Genty and whoever else and whatever else is going on in the locker room. I mean, this is going to be we've said it every week, Mike, but it's going to be from snap one, can't miss stuff on Saturday.
The whole CJ Tiller thing is really fascinating to me. And you sounded like, and I heard what the coaches said the other day. Certainly Bush really downplayed that, but I can see this happening about 10:30, 11 o'clock on Saturday night. Boise State up by 20 points, and here comes CJ Tiller for a couple of drives. I think we're going to see I've been told, and I'm hearing, and we haven't really seen much of C.J. Tiller, but is he the best of the three in terms of the quarterback? Are we going to have a spring battle between C.J. Tiller and Maddox Madsen that's going to go into the fall and go into the season opener next year? I think that's the next big storyline that's going to develop. Maddox Madsen versus C.J. Tiller, as this quarterback quandary just continues to float above Boise State football. And I'm not sure how much kind of a separation will be there. We'll certainly get into that story more down the line. But I want to see C.J. Tiller. I like what Maddox Madsen's doing with this offense, but you're right. He's not Peyton Manning. He's no great giant killer. I can't see him being the next great quarterback at Boise State for the next 4 years. He's really, really small. That interception the other day was so bad, and you had to chalk that up to just his size. He threw it into a body that he probably couldn't even see. And he can do some nice things, but he's not that great. And he can certainly develop, but I can't wait to see what C.J. Tiller. I hope we see C.J. Tiller on Saturday night. I really think that's a big part of the storyline.
Yeah, I don't want to see him when it's the beginning of the fourth quarter and all they're doing is running out the clock and he's just handing the ball off. I want him to play at a time where he's still throwing the ball a little bit and actually can do some things, because you or I could go out there and hand the ball off 3 times and call a play. So I'd like – it's probably not going to happen. Like I said, Bush kind of telegraphed it. He said, we're still playing for a lot. We got to do it. Gives us the best chance to win. But I mean, whether it's third drive of the game or whether it's early, at some point, I would like to see, like you said, if there's a real chance C.J. Tiller could be QB1 next year or even QB2, why not? You're 4 and 5. Get this guy some action, see what he can do, and it still counts as the red shirt. So we'll see. Mike, we got a couple minutes left. I do want to talk basketball to wrap up the show real quick. Let's take one more quick 90-second timeout. I'll get your thoughts on the win over Vanguard here when we come back. Don't go anywhere. Bronco Nation News is sponsored by Tommy Ahlquist and Ball Ventures Ahlquist, Idaho's premier commercial real estate development company. BVA projects specialize in office, retail, flex, medical, and industrial spaces located at some of the most strategic and visible locations in the valley. Need a developer? Looking for new space? Think BVA. At BVA, we are Idaho's developer. The Nicolason family and SON management have proudly been operating Taco Bell restaurants in and around the Treasure Valley since 1969. One of the first to make a 7-figure donation to the Lyle Smith Society, they've also stepped up their support of Boise State athletics with the Taco Bell men's and women's basketball endowed scholarships. The Nicolason family and SON management have committed at least $310,000 by 2026. Get more information on their financial support of Boise State athletics and find information on applying to work at Taco Bell at TacoBellWorks.com. Lithia Ford of Boise is a proud supporter of Boise State athletics and the official car and truck of the Broncos. Lithia Ford of Boise supports Bronco student athletes through NIL deals, including providing Ford vehicles to Taylon Green and Riley Smith from the football team and Paige Barsh from the volleyball team. Rain's family purchased our F-150 from Lithia Ford. Couldn't be happier with the purchase. Check out the all-electric F-150 Lightning or the electric Mustang Mach-E at Lithia Ford, and make sure to check out their full inventory of vehicles at lithiafordboise.com. The Blue and Orange Store is the perfect spot to get all your gear for your next Bronco game. The Blue and Orange Store has official Nike apparel, including jerseys, shirts, sweatshirts, jackets, hats, and more. Wear what the Broncos wear and get it at the Blue and Orange Store, the second floor of the Boise Town Square Mall, or get free shipping on a $40 order online at theblueandorangestore.com. Quick shout out. Thank you to Lithia Ford, by the way. Had an issue with my truck. Took it in there, Mike, and they were kind enough to give me a loaner truck to borrow for the last couple of days while they've been fixing it. And they were very helpful in terms of giving me a ride and stuff. So big shout out, Jim Sturk, everyone at Lithia Ford for their help and support with what they got going on there.
That's very. Is that the biggest deal in terms of? There's 3 different athletes at Boise State that have vehicles, right? Is that the biggest NIL deal that Boise State has that we know publicly?
It could be. I believe the biggest single deal is still Tyson Degenhart with Idaho Central Credit Union. Okay. I believe that the single one athlete one deal. If you want to add the 3 vehicle prices together, they may be shelling out more NIL money in total. But in terms of one athlete, one deal, and Mike Walsh may be able to correct me, I'm pretty sure it was for sure at the time, and I think it still is believed to be the highest single deal is ICCU with Tyson Degenhart.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Okay.
And they're doing some big stuff with him and the Tyson Degenhart show. And I know that we got some other cool things that they're working on. They've got some new photos and things that they've now got Tyson. He did the photo shoot. And it's always interesting because, nothing against Tyson or whatever, but you would think certainly at a school like Boise State, the highest NIL deal, Mike, should be the quarterback or the running back on the football team. But Tyson Degenhart and, preseason Mountain West Player of the Year. And I do think, Mike, basketball, A lot of different reasons, but the closeness to the court, they're not wearing masks. You can see their face. You feel like you know them a little more. Maybe a personality, likability, with the media and things like that. I mean, I do think that maybe that plays into it, but you would think that the football team would, I'm not even sure Eric McAlister had a single NIL deal. Maybe he had something small through the collective or a shirt deal here and there, or maybe he made a post for a hot dog or something. I don't know. But I mean, and I apologize to the companies if he does, but that proves the point that he didn't have very many, or he didn't do a good job showing it. So if you're going from nothing to $100,000, back to the beginning of that, I don't think that's a huge, should be a huge surprise to many people, but not a huge surprise either, Mike. The last couple of minutes here, the Vanguard game, Boise State wins by 34. What were your general takeaways? Much bigger game coming up on Sunday. They got the number 90 Ken Palm team coming in, a quad 2 game, San Francisco, and a really, really brutal stretch here coming up. I think this might be one of those situations, Mike, where they're 3-4 or something here in 3 weeks, and yet they're still probably in a decent place because of all the tough teams they have to play. I mean, it's a brutal upcoming schedule, but what do you make about what you saw against Vanguard?
I didn't really worry about the outcome or the opponent. And since it was my first time to actually watch these guys all the way, we watched a little bit in Canada. And I know you were up in Canada watching every single play of every one of those games on that tour. But I just wanted to study the roster and look at the roster. And I wasn't sitting there comparing and challenging Leon Rice. Did you get your super team? I just wanted to see what the differences were. I'm very, very impressed with this roster. Very, very impressed with this roster. I thought he had some deficiencies in the offseason in terms of some depth, some big guys. And maybe or maybe not, he didn't build his super team, but he absolutely, in my eyes, filled his deficiencies. The depth is there. They can go 10 deep now, and that's impressive considering a couple years ago they were struggling to get to 7 deep, and that's not easy to find 3 dependable guys to throw in there and build this depth. So they can easily go 10. I like what I saw in the big guys. Usually when Boise State gets a new big guy recruit, he's like 6'9" and weighs 37 pounds, and he's a 4-year project. And I thought, oh, here we go again. Omar Stanley and Cam Martin, St. John's, Kansas, these guys were the real deal. They're not development projects. They're difference makers. There's a huge difference between being a development project and a difference maker. And Boise State's got 2 difference makers right there, right off the bat in the first game. And I think it's going to be fascinating to watch. So it's not that I'm jumping on the Leon Rice bandwagon all of a sudden, but what I saw with that roster and what he's done, very, very impressed. Even Jace Whiting. Jace Whiting grew up in the offseason. He went from, no offense, a little boy to a big, strong man who can physically compete as a point guard right now. And he might be PG2 at Boise State. And I thought he was really good last year, but when he was physically outmatched against guys like San Diego State, he shouldn't have been on the court. Now he can be physically fine, put those basketball skills together. So they even developed PG2. I like this basketball team a lot, BJ.
I don't know. We got to go back and find the tape. When it first surfaced, they were interested in Cam Martin. I don't remember Mike Prater being super on board with that. We gotta go find the tape here, Mike Prater.
I didn't see him. I didn't know anything about it.
Hot takes exposed. I think the Cam Martin doesn't do much for me, is what I remember. Come on, Mike.
Maybe I was just seeing it on paper, and now I'm seeing it in real life. And you may be right. And a part of that is because of the skepticism. And the skepticism is a big part of this because, Boise State for 30 years has been bringing in big men, and they're really just development projects because it's hard to get a difference maker at Boise State. I think Leon Rice finally got himself a big man difference maker, maybe even 2.
Yeah, and I know you guys talked about it on the show yesterday, but 28 points, 20 rebounds when you combine Cam Martin and Omar Stanley's stats. So if you're going to be getting 28 and 20 from your 5 spot, you're going to win a lot of games this year. And they both just do so many different. I mean, you didn't even really see Cam Martin's game, to be honest with you, Mike. He's an outside 3. He can really shoot the 3 ball. He only took 1 3-point attempt in that game. I mean, there's going to be a lot of games where he's that trailer coming down the floor, just popping it from the top of the key. He's got a really good pump fake too and can drive to the basket. Like, I would say that was 30% of what Cam Martin's skill set actually is on display in that game. So if you liked him already, just wait. And so I think the combination, yes, of Martin and Stanley, is either one of them by themselves an all Mountain West player? I don't know, but together, if you're getting 20 something points and 20 rebounds a game from those two, I think it certainly is exciting. And again, you scored 89 points when you went 3 of 26 from 3-point range. and you, oh yeah, by the way, didn't even have your best player, Tyson Degenhart, playing. So I know it was Vanguard. I get it. They were supposed to win big, and they did, but this is actually going to be a pretty strong shooting team. I mean, in one of those Canada games, they made 21 threes. This is going to be, by the time the season ends, one of the worst, or one of the best, shooting teams they've had, and that's going to prove to be probably the worst three-point percentage they have all season in that game, and that's why you play Vanguard in the first game and not San Francisco. You get those kind of first game jitters out of the way. Max Rice was 1 for 7. Buzo was 0 for 3. These guys are not going to have the shooting percentages they did. Tyson's going to be improved, so not worried about the shooting at all. You get Tyson back on Sunday. A nice little sneaky team here. San Francisco was picked 3rd in the WCC, and who were the first two? Gonzaga and St. Mary's. So they're a quality, quad 2 kind of early season game that maybe from a name standpoint doesn't move the needle, Mike. But you look up in February and March, they're going to have a pretty high computer ranking, and that would be a quality game. And then they go to Clemson, and they're top 50 right now. And then this tournament's going to have a lot of teams. I mean, and then they come back and play St. Mary's. I think the next 7 games, Mike, are against top 100 teams here. We'll find out in 7 games how Leon feels about it. But they certainly felt like they had a good enough team to schedule really hard this year. They don't have the marquee Kansas or Duke or whatever on the schedule, but they've got 7 teams kind of in that 30 to 50 range that are really, really good. And we're going to find out a lot about this team starting on Sunday.
And Sunday, I think, is the last home game in about a month. They don't have another home game because I know that St. Mary's game is in Idaho Falls until the first week of December. So, when we see Boise State play San Francisco on Sunday, and then the next time we see them come back here and play at home, this team will be completely different. They'll be very experienced. They'll be on the East Coast. They've been taking care of this tournament, and I can't wait to watch them grow. So it'll be fun to watch them grow and see what they can do when they come back. But kind of a crazy home schedule in terms of that month-long gap. But I like the schedule that Leon's built. I wish there was one marquee home game. And I know I'm not saying that San Francisco is not good. When I say marquee, I'm talking sexy fan sizzle. But the overall schedule, you can't complain about it. The overall schedule is responsible. It's perfect. It's exactly what this team needs to challenge them to get better. Everybody expects Boise State to go off and compete for a Mountain West championship, to get in the NCAA tournament for the 3rd consecutive year, which has never happened around here, and then potentially win that first game. So I think everything's on the table, and it has nothing to do with a 30-point victory over Vanguard and everything to do with what Leon Rice and his staff did in the offseason. This roster gives us a lot of hope and a lot of expectations, and I think Boise State football fans are excited to watch Boise State basketball in November.
Well, one marquee game that 2 folks are going to have a chance to win a trip to is the final game of the regular season in San Diego. The VIP basketball experience from Bronco Nation News is back. Any yearly subscriber, if you're a yearly subscriber to Bronco Nation News, whether you renew, whether you get a new one, as long as you're an active yearly subscriber, you're going to be eligible to win this prize, as well as weekly other prizes we're going to be giving away starting here soon. So you get round-trip airfare from Boise to San Diego on a private jet. You're living Mike Prater style. 2 tickets to the game, a 1-night stay in a hotel, and a breakfast on the beach, and a lot more. It's going to be an awesome 24-hour trip down to San Diego for 2 lucky winners. 1 winner and 1 guest. Thanks to our friends at Ridley's Family Markets, Boucher Real Estate, the Blue and Orange Store, and Cutwater Spirits. So if you want to go to San Diego, see a big-time game, senior night there in San Diego, maybe a championship on the line to wrap up the season, that will be coming. And go ahead and subscribe now at BroncoNationNews.com. And again, if you're a monthly subscriber, you have to move to the yearly subscription to be eligible for this, Prater. We don't want people signing up for $6 trying to win and then canceling. So you got to be a yearly subscriber here. Help us pay Mike Prater and help us continue to do what we're doing here in BNN. So excited about that. Mike, appreciate you for staying on a little long today. Had a lot to get to. Good luck today on Idaho Sports Talk. We'll hopefully be seeing you soon. I know you're feeling better, but you just got to get through all the protocols and all that. But keep improving. And again, 3 to 6 Idaho Sports Talk today. I know you guys got a loaded show again as usual.
And tomorrow, 4 o'clock, you'll be on our show as well. I'm going to give you your homework assignment right now, BJ. 2 football questions and 2 basketball questions, because it's a big weekend. The football game on Saturday, the basketball game on Sunday, and can't wait for this weekend to make things happen. So we'll see you tomorrow, 4 o'clock on Idaho Sports Talk.
Appreciate it, Mike. Thanks everybody for checking us out. Thanks to all the viewers. Thanks to our advertisers. Great record viewership again. They just love Mike Prater. They love seeing his happy, smiling face there on a Thursday morning at 9 a.m. to get their day started. So appreciate everybody for checking us out. Make sure you subscribe. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all the social media channels of both BNN, but also KTIK, and they do their daily video segment as well on the KTIK YouTube channel. So make sure you download them. And again, 3 to 6 today, Idaho Sports Talk. You can listen to the crew there as they get you set for a busy weekend in Boise State sports. That'll do it. He's Mike Prater. My name is BJ Rains. Go read his column online. Read my story. It's coming up soon on Bolt and Strawn. And we'll talk to you guys later. Bronco Nation News Live, BroncoNationNews.com. You looking for a new job? Well, how about getting into the trucking industry? Our friends at Transportation Compliance Service can help you every step of the way, whether it's the big rig on your screen, the Amazon truck in your neighborhood, all the paperwork, all the things you need. Let them help you out. Transcomservice.com. They'll have you out there towing that first load in no time. Transcomservice.com. United Commercial Insurance makes business insurance easy. They can write business policy insurance in 44 states around the country. UnitedCommercialInsurance.com. Give them a call, 229-8222. Bronco Nation News, a proud client of United Commercial Insurance. We highly recommend you do as well at UnitedCommercialInsurance.com. The Rains family is happy to have made the switch to Boise Dentistry Co. Highly recommend you do as well. Dr. Miner and his staff, full family dentistry for the whole family. They make it an enjoyable experience to go to the dentist, and we highly recommend you check them out. 5 locations in the Treasure Valley. You may think you're happy with your dentist. You'll be even happier if you make the switch to Dr. Miner and Company. Check them out online, BoiseDentistryCo.com. The pounds continue to fall off, and it's thanks to Dave and our friends over at Lean Feast. Check them out, leanfeast.com/Meridian. Full customizable meal prep. You want to go into the store, pick out your meals individually. That's great. It's right there on Eagle Road in Meridian. Or you can do it all online at leanfeast.com/Meridian, and they'll deliver it to you. 208-487-5782. They're feeding the football team, the basketball team, Taylon Green, Ashton Genty, Tyson Degenhart, and more. Check them out. Lean Feast, leanfeast.com/Meridian. Still time to get that fall round of golf in, and you need to do it at Timberstone Golf Course out in Caldwell. Book a tee time at playtimberstone.com. The best greens in the valley, new technology, new golf carts, friendly environment, fun, challenging course. Check them out, Timberstone Golf Course. Book your tee time today, and I'll see you out there. Playtimberstone.com.
When I want Boise State to win, I trust Coach Rice to lead the Broncos to victory.
And when I want the best painting and garage floor coating, I trust rowpaint.com to get that job done right.